are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano,
host of Locked On Rays, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making the Locked On Rays podcast your first listen every day. And remember, the podcast is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube at Locked On Rays. Also, be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Rays. And I think once a week, we'll try to do a mailbag episode. So send us your questions, send us your comments, send us your inquiries, whatever you want. LockedOnRays@gmail.com. Again, LockedOnRays@gmail.com to be part of the weekly mailbag. All right, Ulises, we push along with our player reviews, and today we have Ji-Man Choi, Ji-Man Choi, Ji-Man Choi.
That's fun, man. That's fun. When you're
Gonna
at the Trop,
Gonna miss it. That's a little foreshadowing there.
When you're at the Trop and 2019, and that happened organically. Mm-hmm. Oh, there was something in it, man, that really gave me goosebumps in 2019. That was really, really cool. And I think it was really cool for him to see that, coming from another country, another culture, and having people chant your name in a stadium filled of over 30,000 people waving yellow flags. Yeah. That must give you something extra. And you know what? He liked it so much that it was his walk-up song for the whole 2021 season. How about that? Isn't that the coolest thing?
Great little nugget there. So who knows? Maybe it's Baltimore Orioles fans that are doing Ji-Man Choi chants next season. Maybe it's Colorado Rockies fans that are doing Ji-Man Choi chants next season. We'll get into that. But of course, Ji-Man Choi on the docket. What went right? What went wrong in his future with the team? Ulises, let's get into G-Man a little bit and what went right with him.
Well, let's start again like we always do with the big picture. Let's talk about that slash line. In 83 games, around 260 at-bats, he had an average of 229, an on-base percentage of 348, slugging of 411, a 758 OPS, 11 home runs this season, 45 driven in. If we have to highlight the most positive thing about G-Man, it's got to be that walk rate, which was at a career high of 14.8%. Almost 15% of the time he's up there, he gets a walk. That is just such a good type of player to have on your side. He's not only looking at pitches, making that pitcher work, but he's also helping the people behind him. Mm-hmm. Which he usually does because he's at the top of the order. So when he's looking at pitches, he's wasting that other starting pitchers. He's also helping his own team. So I think that is very valuable. And 15%, I mean, that doesn't come that often, Kevin.
No, it's pretty good. And we've seen that from him over his tenure with the Rays, the ability to work counts and him very seldom swinging out of the zone or chasing pitches. If there's a pitch he thinks he cannot handle, he usually will not swing at it historically. And what I liked also, in addition to the walk rate from him this season, is sometimes not trying to do too much. The middle of the field is open, bloop single. I mean, if you look at his spray chart, the amount of singles that he has in the middle of the field, that's something to keep an eye on out there. And then I know that he wasn't a huge power guy, all things considered, but he did show power to all fields. And he actually, from what I understand, the hardest hit ball of his career was hit this year. Max exit velo of 112.9. Wow. Additionally, the highest hard hit percentage of his career up to this point at 46.8. We've also seen him step up in some pinch hit situations as well throughout. And I think if we're going to mention a positive, we sort of alluded to it with the Ji-Man Choi chant, is fan favorite and teammate favorite. I think the clubhouse energy and presence and aura he provides. He just, like Brett Phillips, makes baseball fun. Ji-Man Choi makes baseball fun. And the whole social media aspect of things, the whole cultural aspect of things, he's a guy you can rally around a little bit.
And you know that's important to the Rays because guess who was shipped off? Who usually is not shipped off? A guy who is younger, a guy who can have a higher ceiling, in Nate Lowe. So they kept him, and you have to talk about the positive, the organic nature of G-Man and what he brings to the club outside of the lines. It's that the clubhouse atmosphere. He is a genuinely dude that wants to rally around his teammates, and you need those kind of guys in the clubhouse, and you can't just get those guys away. Willie Adames, those guys, that matters to people. That again, that's. Even though it's fun for us to be fans and to watch the games and analyze them, for them, it's their work day.
Yeah.
Do you want to be just surrounded by dudes who are not a good time, that just clock in and clock out? No, that would be the worst kind of atmosphere for a job. You're already playing a game. You should be having fun. And so having these kind of dudes that can be productive, but also having a good time in the clubhouse, that's good. And I'll highlight another thing. If you look at his splits, of him facing righties, the slash line 245, a 374 on base, 468 slugging. That's an 842 OPS. That's incredibly healthy, and all 11 home runs against against righties. So he is definitely a guy from a platoon side of things that he can be productive. 0.9 WAR, F4. I didn't get his B WAR. I'm more of a Fangraphs guy.
Yeah,
Kevin.
clearly. 1.0. So
So basically a 1 WAR guy, used as a platoon guy. So I do think that there are positives in G-Man, and let's remember he also missed a month, so he wasn't there at all in April. So his numbers come in starting from May.
We will get to the negatives, but one more positive I will add. That's Rock Auto. Rock Auto is pretty positive.
My goodness. You know why? Because it gives you two things that you love to do, which is save time and money when you use Rock Auto. Why choose to spend 30, 50, 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or a car dealership? That doesn't make sense, folks. Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. Rock Auto prices are reliably low for every customer. They have everything you could ever need: brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, and even new carpet. So go explore their easy-to-use website today to find the solution to your auto part needs. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Make sure to write Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box so they know that Kevin Weiss and myself sent you today. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com.
Okay, let's pinpoint the negatives with G-Man Choi. Ulises, you kind of mentioned it. Again, G-Man Choi was limited to 83 games played and 71 starts. Part of that is because he is a platoon player. Part of it is the injury bug. Bug. He had 3 trips on the injured list. He missed the first 40 games of the season after surgery on his right knee. He had a left groin strain. He had a hamstring strain. And I go back to it. These lower body, lower extremity injuries are issues for G-Man. And I think his weight continues to be an issue. I'm not trying to body shame. He's just heavy. He's heavy. And over the course of 162 plus spring training, year in, year out, he is now on the dark side of 30. It's a concern for me. It's a concern.
Most certainly to miss all of April. I know three trips in the IL is not, good to see from any player, but yeah, it's now becoming kind of a bad tradition for G-Man with the Rays to always be missing time. And that's not what you're looking for in a guy. And when you talk about the injuries, you also have to talk about his defense. And I do think that has kind of deteriorated from the past. I know everybody loves the splits, but we saw less splits this season.
Probably because of all the lower body injuries he's had.
There you go. Exactly. They go hand in hand. So if he keeps getting injured, then the positives that he brought about while wearing the glove which we all love to see in 2019, 2020. It kind of deteriorated in 2021. And the defensive metrics, take them as you want. If I have, my opinion is that defensive analytics are a long way from being perfect, but they're there. And so let's look at them. And for this year, they didn't really like what Ji-Man Choi had to do with the glove. But again, like you said, Kevin, that has to do a little bit more with the injury bug that keeps on happening. So a guy that gets injured then gets bad ratings defensively. That's not good.
And let's also consider he's oftentimes with the shifts the only man on the right side of the infield, and it's not like he has crazy range to his left or right. And there's been some times that really as of late that we saw with him where a hard line drive, one hopper, he'd kind of get eaten up a little bit. Sometimes he'd smother it. Sometimes it would make its way through. So there were some things there.
And you can't avoid the talk of the game 4 in the ALDS.
Yeah. Now I'm going to put that more on Yandy Diaz, but I still think Ji-Man Choi or many MLB caliber first baseman should be able to smother that or at least corral it and hold on to it one way or the other.
I mean, it took Yandy to not make that play better. It took Choi to not make that play better, and it took Kevin Cash not to put Wendell in that situation at third. So there were a lot of factors, but certainly Ji-Man Choi is one of those factors of not making that play. You talk about body, his injury in the lower half. Well, guess what? He needs that lower half to also move a little bit faster on the base paths. If he gets a single, he now needs either 2 more extra base hits or a bunch of singles or a home run to even score.
Yeah.
So do you want a station-to-station kind of guy on the base paths, especially when he's at the top of the order? That's a big question mark. And if we again focus on the home runs, really nice splits against righties. But when you look at the lefty splits, 186 average, a 526 OPS, again against lefties, he has no shot against lefties, and none of those 11 home runs came against lefties. In fact, Kevin, out of those 11 home runs, only 3 home runs were hit in the last 2 months of the season.
Yeah, and not just the power or lack thereof at times, but the strikeout rate.
Yeah,
I believe the highest strikeout rate in really of his career, but definitely his tenure with the Rays. And something I did notice that he really had trouble with off speed in changeups. That seemed to be a bugaboo for him, where he would almost pull off of it and really look awkward going after some of those pitches. And don't get me wrong, I mean, the other guys get paid too. Pitchers sometimes executing some really good pitches, be it Lucas Giolito or Nate Eovaldi, but even a guy with an average changeup, he would sort of flail and pull his top hand off and totally swing over the top of those types of balls. So those are some little things there too with G-Man.
And when you put it all together, then you have a guy who is striking out heavily, is only resigned to one side of the platoon. He doesn't move that fast. He's not fielding as well. He's still getting injured. Yeah, he's a fan favorite. You put all of the things together, Kevin, and I'm thinking that the negatives really outweigh the positives here. So we'll see. But yeah, I got to tell you, you look at little things again, kind of like with JT yesterday. We were like right in the middle. I can see some positive and negatives with G-Man, but the negatives here with the strikeout rate, 28.5%. That's no joke, Kevin. I mean, we were talking about the 2020 postseason postmortem about a year ago almost, and we were saying, oh man, all these guys striking out 30% of the time, and we're like, it's 20 games, but my goodness, this is in 83 games that he almost struck out 30% of the time.
Yeah.
That's just not tenable. You just can't have 30% strikeout rate without the pop.
Yeah.
So where's the positive of striking out so much?
And that's the thing. And when we collectively look at it, he is really a 3 true outcome guy. And that third outcome, the home run, you would like that to be higher. It's walks, strikeouts, and a little bit of home run there. And he can't run well.
No.
His defense seems to be regressing, and he's only limited to one position defensively, and he can't stay healthy. He gets hurt all the time. That's how I sum it up right now.
Exactly. And if you look at the sprint speed, he's in the 21st percentile. The BSR graded on how he runs with the bases, -0.9.
Yeah, he's not a good base runner. Let's throw that out.
So then you strike out a lot. I feel like the negatives are plenty with G-Man. About his future,
we'll get to that. Yes.
I don't. You know what? We will get to that, Kevin.
We will get to that. That's why we have ads and we have transitions, right? One thing that, again, to transition from the negatives here, one thing that is positive, that's BetOnline. BetOnline, they've got a new web interface for the start of the basketball season and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the basketball and football action this season. Head over to their new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code, or their promo code, I should say, Locked On. That's LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON to receive that bonus. BetOnline, it is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. It is where the game starts. Okay, Ulises, we touched on G-Man's positives, his negatives, his future with the Rays. I'm just going to say ... It's in doubt, very much in doubt, in my opinion.
I think this is a topic that we've said since like 2019.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, oh, we're not going to see him next year. Boom, see him. We're not going to see him next year. Boom, see him. So is this now a tradition of the podcast to say, I don't know about G-Man Choi who bought a jersey or a jersey. You're out of luck. I got to tell you, I think this is not happening. Again, when you look at the negatives, Kevin, I think they overweigh the positives. Again, the flexibility on the position wise, he's not very versatile. You either have him a DH or a first base, and if you have him at all in the lineup, then it better be against the righty. He is not playable against lefties. Yeah. He really is, and now you can't have him against a lefty. So now you've reduced him, to the greater side of the platoon, but that's it. And so, he keeps striking out almost at a 30% rate. He's slow in the base paths. He keeps getting injured. Again, if you look at him and you have enough people on the roster that or places on the roster, you can say, I think G-Man is definitely a guy who can play the right side of the platoon and give you a good production because he can hit righties and he still shows positive output against righties, but he's a free agent starting in 2024. So I just don't see how you can keep a guy like G-Man with so many limitations in a team that can be very versatile.
Let's remember that the Rays did not want to pay G-Man Choi $2.45 million.
Very true.
They served him up or probably wanted to give him less than this, but they threw out $1.85 million. So that case went to arbitration, and I believe he represents the first guy to win an arbitration case against the Rays.
G-Man Choi.
Yeah.
G-Man Choi. No, very good for him.
They had been 6 of 6 previously to that. So this team didn't want to pay him $2.45 million. They didn't want to pay him $2 million. And now him going into his second year of arbitration, what's the projection? Probably $3.5 to $4 million.
At least four, Kevin.
Let me flip this. Would the Rays pay Jordan Luplow $3.5 or $4 million? At least $4 million? That's kind of the question where you sort of have to throw out there. Luplow, is he just sort of at this point a right-handed version of G-Man Choi? Maybe not quite the personality and the clubhouse presence and the jersey sales, everything that you want to take into account. But money is still money at the end of the day with the Rays. We're looking at a platoon first baseman on a low budget team. entering his second ARB year. $2.45 million to the Rays. That might as well be $8 to $10 million for any other team out there. I just don't see how they come up or want to come up with that kind of money to pay G-Man.
$4 million. That's the base. For 2022, that would be $4 million.
For a part-time player.
For a part-time player on a team. Again, like if this team is a $150 million club, sure. G-Man comes back next year. There's no way he doesn't. I think he as if used correctly, G-Man deserves a spot. The problem is the money. Yeah. The money is the big issue here. So I just don't see how he comes back. But again, if you have the big, guys, I'm sorry that we're going to be very repetitive about this, but this is the reality until we know what's going on.
Yes.
The CBA, the collective bargaining agreement. We don't know what's going to happen there. So if there is any movement on how on the money side of things, on what a payroll is, a floor cap or a salary cap, whatever may have you, then this becomes a different conversation, right, Kevin. Because if it is a floor of 100 mil, I would bet that G-Man stays. But again, if things stay pat, I don't see how you put $4 million on a guy who you are expecting 250 at-bats with limited versatility and just the slowness in the pass. I think the Rays are moving another way. They're moving into the switch hitter who is able to play three positions at least, that is quick around the bases, that can steal bases. The Taylor Walls, Vidal Brujan, Wander Franco, those are the types of players that you're going to see a lot of. And G-Man doesn't fit that mold at all.
Percentage chance that G-Man Choi is on the roster next year?
80-20. 80-20.
Like 80% chance he is?
80% chance he's not.
Okay.
80% chance he's not. 20% he's coming back. How about you? Do you have him at 100-0?
Pretty close. It's about 95-5. 95% chance he's off the roster. Hot take. This is what the Rays are going to do.
Okay.
They're going to move off of G-Man Choi. They're going to give an outfield spot to Josh Lowe, and they are going to give Austin Meadows a first base mitt and teach him how to play that position, and or have Brandon Lau work some first base and maybe give that second base, shortstop's middle infield spot to a Taylor Walls, Vidal Brujan, mixed match, however you want. I just don't see how G-Man makes the cut, considering that there are 6-7 guys that are going to be free agents with the Rays, and there's 19 players, including G-Man, eligible for arbitration.
League leading, 19. You gotta look. I'm a huge make Brandon Lau your first baseman. I would push that forever. I also like the Austin Meadows one, but I like the Brandon Lau one because you open up a spot for Taylor Walls, who has been incredible with the glove.
Right.
And I think, you got to give a guy a little bit more a chance with the bats. Also, you open Vidal Brujan, maybe a possibility there. So I'm a big Brandon Lau first baseman. Again, this is a team that put Hunter Renfroe on first base without ever having that.
Luplo. He never played first base.
They've put Francisco Mejia.
They put pitchers at first base for a couple innings.
So taking out
Nelson Cruz.
Exactly.
They'll put a trash can at first if that trash can hit.
And if they're playing in Houston.
Yes,
but
that's true. Very good.
So that's the point. If they're willing to sacrifice defense on first base, that tells me a lot that if G-Man's defensive metrics are not really helping him, why would you not move a Brandon Lau, an Austin Meadows to first base and open up a spot in there on the outfield or in the infield? It's not looking great for G-Man Choi fans, and that sucks because Rays fans don't get a lot of continuity. Which, having said that, just now, this is a lot of the guys that are on the 2021 team, Kevin, were in the 2018 team. So, that's 4 seasons. I know other teams have way more than 4 years, but I think 4 years, that's a good chunk. Or am I just a Rays fan base mind?
That's pretty good for a Rays player. That's longer than many before him, that's for sure. And we didn't even mention the 40-man roster crunch that the Rays have to figure out and deal with as well. Last thing here before we get to our grade of G-Man Choi. So Zips projections, I just want to get quick over-unders from you on this.
Okay.
2022 G-Man Choi, over-under 111 games played.
For 2022?
Yeah.
111 games. Oof. I'd say under, man.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree. I guess this doesn't matter as much, but 346 at-bats, over-under.
Under.
Okay. 13 home runs, over-under.
He had 11 and
I guess it depends what field he's playing at.
Yeah,
is he playing at Camden Yards? Okay, then maybe he's got 14, 15 in him.
You know what? He actually had a great. I think the exit velo went up. I think, or
I mentioned that in the first segment. Yeah, the exit velo, those numbers did go up.
Our hard hit percentage, you said, highest in his career. So I would say, okay, 13. I think 13. Yeah, would be a nice number.
240 average, over under.
I'm gonna go under.
Okay, and 772 OPS.
I'm gonna go under.
Okay, look, I mean, that's kind of the guy. We look at those numbers. That's kind of what he is. And what the Rays pay $3.5–4 million, and that's probably actually a good year, decent, solid year for G-Man. So I think it's really tough. So okay, player grade for G-Man Choi. You want me to go first?
Yeah, yeah. Please go first.
I'm not going to give a number to this, but
do it. Don't do this. Don't cower behind the no number. Do it. Throw the number. We need the number, Kevin. Everybody wants it. Jake Stokes wants it. Come on, let's go.
Not a C-, but the lowest C possible before you get to a C-. So what's that, a 74?
74, yeah.
73, 74.
Wow.
Around that range.
Okay. Then I am a more I'm nicer today, I guess. And I have 82. B-.
Okay.
I had him at were to use him against righties only. That's a good player.
Yeah, you know what? My grade probably isn't completely fair because I should have probably taken into account how this is what he is. How is he? He's never going to put up Brandon Loud numbers, so I can't compare him to that. I have to compare him to the G-Man Choi of old, but I still think he underwhelmed compared to the G-Man Choi of old.
And I think in some metrics he did. I think in others he excelled. Again, if you're looking for a high on base guy, he's the guy against righties. I mean, highest walk rate percentage ever. And again, that's not only helping himself get on base, but wasting the pitcher, giving others behind him a chance at more research, the ball, the tunneling, how that works. I think that helps.
I just would have thought that, the guy finally gets his first payday, and I don't know if he made an effort to get in better shape, but it didn't seem like he did. I mean, just things happen.
He got injured.
He got hurt. He got injured. So
and sometimes when
you
get hurt, you might not be able to do what you can and what you expect of yourself from your body. But hopefully, the 2021 offseason is a little bit better for him and he gets in better shape and he's able to provide numbers for somebody, even if it is the Rays. I would not be unhappy seeing Ji-Man Choi be back with the Rays. I would welcome that, but I would expect him to now be completely platooned. Just as platooned as, Matt Joyce was when he was with the Rays. Like, no lefties ever. That's exactly what I want from G-Man. Only righties. Any lefty comes in, get the heck out of here. Let's somebody else grab a bat.
And I don't disagree with you, and that's why I'm going to continue to beat this dead horse. Do you pay $4 million to a guy that you have to make that maneuver? You have to make that extra work to pull him out.
CBA. There it is. That's the answer, baby.
There we go. Very good. Quickly, who would you rather have right now? G-Man Choi or Nate Lowe on the Rays roster?
Get out of here. That's my answer. Get out of here. Sign us off.
I assume Nate Lowe, right?
No comment, baby. Okay. No comment. There you go.
I think the Rays, from what I understand, cleaned up in that deal with some of the prospects. But it might be several years before we see the fruits of that trade. So, all right. Thank you again for making the Locked On Rays podcast your first listen every day. And we'll be back tomorrow. Should have Evan Klosky on the show for a postmortem on the 2020 Rays or 2021 Rays season, I should say.
That's going to be a somber episode.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Might try to liven things up with a little bit of baseball trivia. Also, send us your emails. Comments, questions for a future mailbag episode, lockedonrays@gmail.com. Very good. Okay. And also you can check out the Locked On MLB podcast in the meantime. Have a good one.